speaking of which, you want a picture with all of us? Why don't we do that right quick, so that you've got a picture, in case Mindy gets filmed out and has to leave. This is our big grant that we got. We've never had a CDBG grant. There's a lot to it, so we're having to add some agenda. I mean, we're having to add some different amendments to help it.
I don't care.
I just didn't know. Yeah, why don't you stand right there and then you don't have to move.
No, I know where we needed to go.
Come on, Jim.
Do you want to be in front of the door? Is that what you were saying?
That's
Go
what
backwards.
In front of the door? Okay, we can do that.
I don't know where I'm going. I'm blind.
Okay, there we go. Is everybody good and close? Susan, could you come in just a bit? Thank you, I'm sorry.
Mindy, your head's covered.
Yeah, we don't want to knock her head off, do we? Sorry, I hope I wasn't moving. Anyway, we're real excited about this. I think today, if I'm not mistaken, we had to, when it all is said and done, we had to have a $230,000 match. Is that correct? 260. Okay. Anyway, we're really excited about that. Anybody that's been around, they know that the grinder pumps over on Patrick Court, back there off of West Jefferson, Captain, and Kane, for the citizens and for the city of Hoschton. When they need to be fixed, we have to tell you how they're fixed. So the bills every year were quite high. So we're excited to get rid of that. That is a big cumbersome thing on the city of Hoschton. Okay, the agenda, we need to, we won't be doing any voting, of course, but is there anything anybody wants to change on the work session and public hearing minutes on September the 5th? Looked good for everybody? Okay. How about September the 9th, 2019, regular meeting minutes? Everybody good with that? Okay, moving right along. There's no old business, so we'll go down to new business. Since we had a problem last month and we didn't get to do the Angel Ride request for the depot, we will vote on that at City Council meeting unless somebody has a question. All right. Third-party inspection ordinance. You want to go over that? Justin, thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Because of the way our charter reads, although we're having a public hearing tonight and the former council members are participating tonight, our new council members will be sworn in and will be the voting members on Tuesday night. So traditionally, when we've had this kind of situation, although they don't vote, if they've got questions, things on the agenda, they new members are ask questions and participate. Clearly, we want that, but if that's okay with the rest of the council.
That's good with me. Is that okay with you, gentlemen? Okay, so I'm going to take one step back. Did you get to look over the minutes? Did you have any questions there?
No,
Okay. You didn't look over them, or you had a question?
no question.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then the Angel Ride, that is where it's a motorcycle group that has come in every year. And Jennifer, did they what, make 35, 40,000?
They raised over $53,000.
53,000 for a cancer patient. And so we were very proud and honored that they used our depot. Third-party inspection ordinance. Justin, you want to explain it? And if you gentlemen,
We've been over it.
you've been over it? Okay. Justin?
Okay, Mayor and Council, this is the third-party inspection program ordinance. This is coming before y'all. The state of Georgia adopted a new law that affects third-party inspections. It allows for some increased timeliness and qualifications for third-party inspectors for cities and counties. The law also allows the cities and counties to set in place pre-qualifications and their own guidelines for how those third-party inspections are submitted and done. There's an application process for the third-party inspector, as well as a notification of of intent to use third-party inspector for the city, and those are in your packets. If y'all have any questions, just let me know.
I got one, because I probably didn't read all this as good as I should have, but do we have anything to hold the feet to the fire other than just tell them that it's not acceptable? I mean, can we fine them or anything?
There are violations in here. First of all, let's hope we don't have any of those because we have to set up a pre-qualification process for the third-party inspectors. But in case we do have issues, excuse me if I flip there. There are,
It's on page 7.
there we go, thanks, sir. There's a first to fifth infraction, and it's warnings and fees. When our building inspectors can still go out and look at things, and they have to accept the third-party inspection form. So our building inspectors will actually look over the inspection form. So they don't have to go out on site if the applicant wishes to use their own. And then they turn in a report, and our building inspector will look at the report and check it for our codes and ordinances and make sure everything's in good shape.
Okay, so I know our building inspection department charges us a percentage of the permits.
Yes, sir.
So say it's Joe from down the road and he's had a third-party inspection done. Our guys don't go out and do it. Okay? Is there any cost to the city? Or he pays the whole total cost, or do we still get a bill from Bureau Veritas?
So the way the state law is written is actually, they have to give us notice, and we have to let them know if we can inspect it or not. They still have the option of using their third-party inspector. Some of them choose to do it for insurance purposes, for liability wise. That being said, if we can, meaning our building department, can go out and inspect within a certain time limit, which is 2 days upon notification, they have to submit the entire building inspection fees that we would normally charge, in addition to them paying their third-party inspector. If we're backed up, and this is why the law is there, if cities or counties are backed up and they can't do it, they just have to pay half of the building permit fees if they use a third-party inspector, if our building inspectors can't get out there. And that's for administrative costs, doing the CO, checking the permits, that kind of thing, for the administrative side.
Okay, so normally we've got like 70-30, or maybe it's 60-40 now with Bureau Veritas, 70-30.
I would have to look at it and get back to you. But
Okay.
yes, sir, that's close.
But we're still going to have to pay Bureau Veritas something.
So of that 50%, what do they still get their percentage?
They would get their percentage of
Of
that.
50.
Yes.
Okay,
So it would do the same thing as, it would just be a reduced fee.
okay, good.
Just even if it did not perform the actual inspection, right?
Yes, sir. That's, it's for, so on the back end, they have to check the permits for our stuff. Karen still goes and processes all the paperwork, and the guys still go and issue a CO and that kind of thing. So it covers that cost.
Thank you, Justin.
Yes, ma'am.
You might want to stay up there because let's see what we got to do next.
If that's all right with y'all.
That'd be great. Okay, number 3, zonings related items, administrative rezoning of 21 parcels on West Jackson and Bell Avenue, R2 to R3, rezoning of non-compliance parcels into a more appropriate zoning classification. And I'm sure everybody has seen the signs up and down West Jefferson, so would you like to explain?
If it's all right with y'all, I'm gonna set this up real quick and I'll point out some of them.
Okay, that'd be great.
If I may add, while he puts that together on Tuesday night, each one of these zoning items, although they're under item number 3, would be voted on individually, so you would have a separate vote on each.
So get your hand up.
So, if y'all don't mind, I'm just gonna stick it right here behind me so everybody else can see if y'all are off.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right.
Where's your van on?
Where is she when you need her?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna talk loud if that's okay. Can everybody hear me? Okay, so the parcels we're talking about are, see, now you look at it from the other way, you can't even tell. They're right here on this side of West Jefferson, on the Winterset side, right here. And they're right here, as well as right here. So what we used when we went through all these parcels is we got everything that was under an acre. R2 requires a half-acre lot. R3 requires a quarter-acre lot. So if it was double the requirement, we didn't touch it. What this is for is this is for more appropriate zoning districts. So R3 fits most of these lots a lot better. Most of these lots are a quarter acre, a little bit over a quarter acre. We've had interest, and we've had one house that has been redone, and we had to jump through a lot of hoops to be able to get that house redone. So doing a rezoning would not cost the citizens that live in those homes any money because the city initiated it. Well, what it would do is it would put them back into compliance, so that if they ever wanted to rebuild their home, they ever wanted to add on to their home, their setbacks and their lot sizes would be in compliance. They wouldn't have to apply for a variance. And it would make, if they decided to sell their home, it would make their homes a little bit easier to sell. Because they would be conforming rather than not conforming.
And to get mortgages.
Yes, ma'am. So there is a little bit of an update since the Planning Commission reviewed this. They did recommend approval to council for all the items below. But the little, it looks kind of like a sickle. It's parcel number H02020RW. It belongs to the city. It's got kind of a ditch in it. Institutional would also be an appropriate zoning district. It doesn't need to be rezoned residential because it wouldn't have a house. It's a ditch. So if the council decided, you could make it institutional at your choice, discretion. That being said, that is the 21 parcels. If y'all have any questions for those, we need to have a public hearing on each one of these to open and close each one. So if y'all have any questions on those, I'll be happy to answer. So,
with the city's property, the parcels that the city owns, does it have to be kicked back to the planning and zoning board for that parcel to be, I guess, placed outside of the R2 to R3? Do we have to start over for just that parcel?
no, it's already gone before the Planning Commission, and they've already had a public hearing on the matter. So council can rezone as they see fit. So if they were to see, if y'all were to see, it'd be more appropriate to be institutional, just so everybody know, hey, that's a city parcel. You know, some of these. So all the institutional you see is in purple, and they're either schools or city properties or county properties, and it just makes it easier for people to know what it is.
So just to clarify, do we need to open that up for?
We do need to open each one of these up for a public hearing. So I'll move this back in the back, if that's all right with everybody.
You want her to just call them by parcel number?
So we were going to do the administrative rezoning of all of them together, and then do the update of the table, clarification, and Scrivener's errors.
So you didn't mean every property had?
No, sir. No,
Just each item.
We will go there. Go on, Dave. Go on. Yes, okay. So you want the motion to go into public hearing? We'll just go, okay, we're in public hearing. Is anybody, need to ask a question about the 21 parcels, pro or con? Okay, hearing none, then, everybody good? Okay, we'll close the public hearing on that one, and then we'll go down to zoning code update of table 4.2 to table 4.4. Justin?
Okay, this is closely associated. It's another issue that we identified when we were looking at some of these smaller parcels. It actually helps with the rezoning to R2 to R3. This is lot size requirements. What we're proposing and what the Planning Commission has recommended approval of is to go to more standard, I would say, lot width requirements. So when these lot width requirements go into, so for example, R1 and R2 have the same lot width requirement, but R1 is a 1 acre minimum lot and R2 is a half acre minimum lot. What it does is it, right now, as the lot widths sit, they make a lot of lots that would normally be in those zoning districts non-conforming just by nature of the lot width requirement. So what we've done is recommended R2 go to 75, R3 go to 60. What I've also done is I've denoted R4 back, I believe it was December 3rd of this last year. Council recommended removal of R4. So what we've done in the book to make it easier for people is we've highlighted R4 in red and put not permitted. MFR, which is multifamily residential, to go to 50. OR to go to 60, which it's a very similar lot size to R3, so we're trying to keep those standard. And mixed use to 50, the same as MFR.
Okay.
And that's pretty much the entirety of that one. They're not changing too terribly much. R2 was 100, R3 was 70, MFR was 70, OR was 75, and MU was 70.
Okay. You all found that in your book, and everybody, council all good?
Yeah, I think we're more in line with the surrounding communities and all that.
Okay, so this was a cleanup, and we really appreciate you doing it, Justin. This being a public hearing, is there any questions for the audience that would like to make a comment or are against? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along. Number 3, which is clarification of section 6.55 of zoning code to confirm to table to 4.2. Adjusting the lots for the requirements required buildable area and miscellaneous sections with tables to minimize various requests. Do you want to do that one, Justin?
Yes, ma'am. This is this one is part of that code modification that I mentioned that happened this last year. So table, let's see. 6.55 is fee simple townhomes, and when the code was changed, back in December, there was a section in there on number 2 on minimum lot size, where it was kind of an either or. It said the minimum lot size for fee simple townhouse lots should be 2,000 square feet, with an overall average of 2,400 square feet for the townhouse development. So what we did was just remove the 2,000 square feet with an overall average of 2,400 square feet for the townhouse development, because the chart says 2,400. So we're just reconciling the two.
Okay.
And I will have to apologize. There's one chart on number 2 that we missed, so I'm gonna have to go back and do that.
Okay,
Okay?
let me finish this one up, and we'll
Yes,
jump
ma'am.
back to that, okay? All right, is there any, anybody got any questions, city councils? I got 6 of you now, that's wonderful. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, since it's a public hearing, does anybody have anything to, for it or against it? Seeing none, we'll move along. We're gonna jump back to number 2, and Justin, you can fix it.
Yes, ma'am. I apologize for this, y'all. So the first portion, what we went over was the lot width requirement for residential. The second one, which was table 4.4, was dimensional requirements for non-residential zoning districts, which is commercial and industrial. We had a maximum building coverage percentage. So all of like institutional, which is government buildings, had a maximum building coverage of 40%, which means you can only have 40% covered on an institutional lot. So as we all know, schools take up a lot more than 40% of the lot that they're on. They take up about all of it. So this is something that's superfluous, because our subdivision and land development code addresses landscaping requirements as well as tree protection. So what we did was just remove the 40 for institutional, 40 for C1, 50% for C2, 50% for C3, and 50% for M1. And now the subdivision and land development ordinance will control. Something to keep in mind for this maximum building coverage, because of the way our code is written, maximum building coverage includes parking decks, parking lots, buildings, and any kind of a structure. So it wouldn't just be the building itself, it would be the pavement and everything else. So it would be irregular to have a maximum building coverage for commercial and industrial properties. So that was table 4.4 on item number 2.
Thank you, Justin, I appreciate that. Is there any, this being a public hearing, I need to ask again, does the city council have any questions? Seeing none, does the audience have anything they want to say for it or against it?
So we're building townhouses? She asked, are we building townhomes?
So there are 2 proposals that have been approved that have townhomes in them. One of them is, I'm going to walk over here if y'all don't mind. This was rezoned over a course of a couple of different council members. For those of you in the back that can't see MFR, it's the orange section right here off of Town Center Parkway. It was originally proposed and limited by the council to a certain number of townhomes. The developer has since come back and said that they're going to do a significantly smaller amount of townhomes. Here it's probably going to be like 90% single family, 80% single family, 10-20% townhomes. The one over here that was rezoned MU, it's in front of Creekside. That went before council, I believe, in July. And the back row has a few townhomes. I believe the number was 34, something like that. And the front of it is commercial, and that's why that's mixed use. It was a mix between a residential and commercial. But as far as that goes, those are the only townhome developments that have been proposed in the city.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move along. You already did that. We just we cleared up that one, we've already done that one, so we're down here to
Three's,
the,
three's good, we're on 4.
we're on 4, okay. Scrivener's errors and zoning code. I don't know who Scrivener is.
Okay, so Scrivener error is just a fancy word for a typing mistake. One of our charts did not allow retail to be in commercial. So what it was is it was swapped around. Institutional goes in the chart, I guess do it backwards. It's institutional C1, C2, C3, M1. Institutional and then MU. We added MU. Institutional and C1 were flip-flopped. So retail uses were permitted in institutional, but not permitted in C1. So correcting that error, and because I did it, copied C1 uses and put them in MU and changed some of them. I copied the table for C1 to MU because it's a neighborhood commercial type commercial use, and it also had the X on it. So somebody came in for a business license, and I was doing a business license check, and I was just flipping around and looking at the different retail uses, and looked at C1 and went, uh-oh. So that's just before y'all tonight. Normally, those are handled when they go for codification. They'll fix those. But because we had other administrative things tonight, we just wanted to bring it before y'all, let y'all know we're fixing some small boo-boos, and that's up for y'all's consideration as well.
Okay. That is the correction on B.
Ma'am?
Is that right?
There's a clerical error on
Yeah.
table 4.3, which is used
Yeah,
better.
excuse me.
That's it.
I'm fine.
It's
Apologize.
table 4.3. That's the table.
Yeah, okay, just want to make sure.
That's
Okay.
that's the uses allowed in commercial.
Does anybody have any questions, remarks? All right, Justin, do you have the next one too, or is that Dale's?
Justin can handle that since he's up there.
All right.
Okay. So we need to have a. We open this up.
Yeah, public hearing for the script notes.
Oh,
We
the
do that.
very last one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I apologize. Okay, we need to open up the hearing, and I have asked if anybody has any comments. Nobody has had any? Okay? So that's closed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item is the contractor's bids on upkeep items for the train depot, where we are now. This has been going on for a little while. We needed to get a few different things taken care of here that our guys don't have the machinery or necessary to just take it up. And so there are 3 bids here for y'all. I don't know how deep y'all would like me to get into these. The bids go from $4,200 all the way up to $16,500 for, and some of the scope of the work is like removing the mini splits and repairing that, taking care of some of the ADA accessibility requirements, and looks like some gutter and roofing items. Deck. So those items are up for y'all's consideration.
Okay, has everybody had a chance to kind of look over that?
Just one question, how did you determine who bid it?
Okay, so this one was one of those ones where it was over our threshold to say, you go do it. But it was under the threshold where most home builders really care. Most of the people that are doing this work right now won't bid on smaller jobs. So of the bids we had, these were, I believe, the ones that were on the lower end. And so we put those in, and we'll go through a vetting process with their paperwork. Dale, maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit?
We didn't do a formal RFP on that because of timing. We were trying to get these done as quick as possible. We reached out to multiple individuals that we've done work with in the past, multiple firms that we've had work with. These are the only ones that were responding.
And I agree this needs to get done, so maybe it's an issue, but if you want to follow your rules, you really didn't get this right. Sorry about it.
We'd be more than happy to go back through and put it out to a public bid and, follow those rules.
Be sure it's right.
Okay, if everybody will kind of look over those, did y'all have some questions on that?
I think as far as the time goes, like, it's, the bids, and some of the bids came in June. We're reaching the 6-month mark now. That's a long time for something to be held up that quote unquote needs to be done, especially when we talk about being in compliance with handicap accessibility. With the rails that are there now, if somebody per se grabs it or is injured by any chance, we have to fix it. That's necessary money we don't have to pay out. So I just think we it'd be nice if there was more itemized information to understand how the bidders got to their price, and not just have a name for the company and a total.
Okay, you want a little more detail?
Yes.
Okay, can we do that then?
Certainly.
All right, we'll get you some more detail on it, and we'll go from there. Thank you. All right, Justin, I think that finishes you. No, it does not. It does, okay. All right. Poor Justin. But Justin, I appreciate you cleaning up things and looking through zonings and seeing things that have changed that we need to work on, and I appreciate you doing that. Okay, revision to section 3-6206 rules for the conduct of business specifically related to 8 with the addresses, limitations of the address of city council. You want to talk about that, Dave?
Sure, there was a request by the council to look into adjusting our ordinance on how individuals would address city council. As the ordinance states right now, that